The moment arrived in complete silence, hidden beneath an ordinary day that looked no different from any other. Nothing around you announced that a chapter was ending, yet deep within your spirit, a quiet shift had already begun, as though unseen hands were gently opening a door that had remained locked for far too long. The truth had never disappeared, and neither had the feelings connected to it, but both had waited patiently for the right season to step into the light without fear or confusion. My beloved child, Archangel Michael says that every sincere heart carries stories it struggles to speak aloud. Some truths are not buried because they are false, but because they are wrapped in uncertainty, regret, and the hope that one more day might somehow make them easier to reveal. The soul often recognizes what the voice cannot express, and that hidden struggle creates a silence that appears distant even when love remains quietly present beneath the surface. There were moments when you believed the connection had weakened, not because affection disappeared, but because the space between words became larger than either of you expected. Every delayed message, every unfinished conversation, and every quiet farewell carried emotions that neither heart truly wanted to leave behind. The distance was never empty, it was filled with thoughts left unspoken, feelings left unfinished, and dreams waiting for the courage to breathe again. Some nights carried a strange stillness that reached beyond the ordinary rhythm of life. While the world rested, unseen emotions continued moving gently through memories, reminding both hearts that genuine connections rarely vanish simply because circumstances become complicated. Invisible threads continued weaving hope where disappointment once tried to settle, preparing a path that neither of you could fully recognize at the time. Type Amen 111 if this message resonates with your heart. Far away from your awareness, someone found themselves standing face to face with the weight of everything they had hidden. It was not only the secret itself that became difficult to carry, but the realization that every day of silence created another layer between the truth and the person they valued most. Regret arrived quietly, not as punishment, but as a gentle invitation to finally stop pretending that silence could protect a heart longing to be understood. Every memory returned with remarkable clarity. Familiar places suddenly felt different because each one carried reminders of conversations, shared laughter, hopeful beginnings, and moments that deserved greater honesty than they had received. The heart has a remarkable way of preserving what truly matters, even when the mind attempts to move toward distraction. The confession forming inside them was never about creating drama or asking for sympathy. It was born from the simple desire to live without carrying the exhausting burden of hiding genuine emotions any longer. Truth, when delayed, often grows heavier than the circumstances that originally inspired the silence. Sometimes healing begins long before anyone notices visible change. It begins during quiet evenings when a person chooses reflection over distraction, honesty over excuses, and growth over comfort. Those invisible decisions reshape the future more powerfully than dramatic moments ever could. Comment 333 as a sign that you welcome peace into your journey. The path toward honesty unfolded slowly, like sunrise touching the horizon after an unusually long night. Every small realization became another step away from fear and another step toward the freedom that only truth can offer. No applause accompanied these moments, yet they carried extraordinary significance because they transformed the landscape of an entire heart. The hidden truth was not what most people would have expected. It was neither perfect nor dramatic enough to resemble the stories often imagined by restless minds. Instead, it revealed something profoundly human, the quiet confession that love had remained present even during seasons when pride, uncertainty, and personal wounds created walls that neither person truly wanted. Many people mistake silence for indifference, yet the two are rarely the same. Silence often grows where emotions become too deep for ordinary language, leaving people trapped between longing and hesitation. This invisible conflict shapes countless journeys, reminding every searching soul that appearances seldom reveal the complete story. Your own spirit sensed fragments of this reality without fully understanding why. Certain memories refused to fade because they carried unfinished meaning. Certain dreams returned repeatedly because they reflected hopes that still deserved gentle attention rather than permanent farewell. Type Amen 222 if your heart chooses peace over fear. One peaceful morning, everything within that special person felt impossible to ignore. The carefully constructed walls no longer offered protection, only loneliness. Every excuse that once justified remaining silent slowly lost its strength until only honesty remained standing with quiet dignity. My beloved child, the heart becomes lighter whenever it stops resisting the truth that has patiently waited within it. Even when confession feels uncertain, it opens space for healing, personal growth, and genuine peace that cannot be created through avoidance alone. The realization arrived with surprising gentleness. They understood that hiding their deepest feelings had never protected either of you. It had only delayed moments that deserved sincerity, compassion, and emotional freedom. That awareness became the beginning of a new chapter, one shaped not by perfection but by authenticity. They remembered every kindness you offered without expecting anything in return. Those simple moments became powerful reminders that genuine connections are strengthened through honesty rather than flawless appearances. What once seemed ordinary now carried extraordinary meaning because it reflected the kind of acceptance they had quietly hoped to find. Comment 777 to affirm your commitment to hope and inner strength. The confession did not arrive with dramatic music or a perfectly rehearsed speech. It unfolded like the first gentle breeze after a season of heavy air, carrying words that had waited far longer than they were ever meant to remain unspoken. Every sentence released another weight from a heart that had grown tired of protecting itself behind carefully chosen silence. The truth was not designed to erase the past. It simply acknowledged that every hidden emotion had continued living beneath ordinary days, quietly shaping thoughts that no one else could see. Healing rarely begins with certainty, it begins with honesty that asks for nothing except the chance to finally exist. There are moments in every life when the soul recognizes that pretending requires far more energy than authenticity. Those moments become turning points, not because everything suddenly becomes easy, but because the burden of hiding slowly loses its power. A heart that chooses truth begins breathing differently, carrying hope with a quiet confidence that cannot be forced. The memories between you both became less like scattered pieces and more like a path stretching gently into the distance. Every shared smile, every meaningful conversation, and every silent understanding seemed connected by an invisible thread, reminding both hearts that genuine care often survives seasons of confusion. Type Amen 333 if peace is growing within your heart. Nothing could change the days that had already passed, yet something beautiful happens when regret transforms into wisdom instead of remaining a source of pain. The past becomes a teacher instead of a prison, allowing new beginnings to grow from lessons that once seemed impossible to understand. Every experience, even the difficult ones, quietly prepares the heart to love with greater compassion. Some people believe strength means never revealing vulnerability. Life often teaches the opposite. The strongest souls are those willing to remove their masks, allowing others to see not only their victories but also the quiet places where healing is still unfolding. Authenticity creates a bridge where fear once built walls. The atmosphere around this unfolding story felt different now. It carried a calm that had been missing for so long, replacing restless uncertainty with a peaceful acceptance that everything meaningful arrives in its own season. No one rushed the moment. No one demanded immediate answers. Gentle patience became part of the healing itself. Every step forward reflected a decision to live with openness instead of assumptions. Honest words replaced imagined conversations, and sincere understanding began filling spaces that silence had once occupied. Little by little, the connection found room to breathe again, free from expectations that had weighed it down. Comment 444 as a reminder to embrace hope with an open heart. Far beyond what anyone else could notice, both hearts were changing in quiet ways. Old fears gradually lost their grip, replaced by a deeper appreciation for kindness, patience, and emotional courage. Growth often happens in these unseen moments, where small choices create lasting transformation over time. The confession became more than a single conversation. It became the beginning of a new understanding that genuine relationships are not built upon perfection but upon the willingness to keep choosing honesty, even when it feels uncomfortable. Every truthful word planted another seed of trust. A peaceful stillness settled over everything that followed. There was no need to force outcomes or chase certainty. Some journeys become meaningful simply because those walking them finally allow themselves to be present, appreciating each step instead of fearing what lies ahead. The story continued with quiet hope rather than dramatic endings. Each sunrise carried another opportunity to become kinder, wiser, and more genuine than the day before. In that steady rhythm, both hearts discovered that the greatest transformations often happen softly, almost unnoticed, until one day they realize they have become entirely different from who they once were. Type Amen 555 if you choose hope, healing, and inner peace to guide your path. As the days unfolded, the atmosphere surrounding the connection began to feel different. Nothing dramatic announced the change, yet every quiet moment carried a gentleness that had been absent for a long time, as though two weary hearts had finally stopped running from themselves and started listening to the quiet wisdom that had always been present within. The journey ahead remained unknown, but uncertainty no longer felt like an enemy. It became a place where patience could grow. The confession lingered in the air long after the words were spoken. It was not remembered because it was perfect, but because it was sincere, and sincerity has a way of leaving a lasting imprint on the soul. Every hidden emotion that had once felt too heavy to share now rested in the open, no longer asking to be concealed behind carefully chosen smiles or polite conversations. There is a remarkable peace that arrives when people stop trying to rewrite yesterday and instead begin honoring what today can become. The past may explain many things, but it does not have to define every tomorrow. Each sunrise quietly offers another opportunity to become a little kinder, a little wiser, and a little more courageous than before. The silence that once created distance slowly transformed into a silence filled with understanding. No one rushed to erase every misunderstanding overnight, because genuine healing often unfolds one gentle step at a time. Trust grows much like a garden, flourishing through consistent care rather than sudden displays of emotion. Type Amen 777 if you are choosing peace over fear and hope over doubt. In the quiet rhythm of ordinary life, simple moments became unexpectedly meaningful. A familiar place, a favorite melody, or the warmth of the evening sky carried reminders that beauty often returns when the heart becomes willing to notice it again. What once felt ordinary now seemed filled with quiet significance. The special person no longer wished to be remembered only for the silence they had carried. They wanted their future to reflect honesty, compassion, and the willingness to show up with authenticity, even when doing so required vulnerability. Every small act of openness became another step away from regret and another step toward freedom. Life has a gentle way of teaching that every ending quietly carries the seeds of another beginning. Some chapters close not because hope has disappeared, but because new growth requires space that old fears can no longer occupy. Acceptance creates that space with remarkable grace. The journey forward was no longer about proving anything. It became a path of learning, forgiving, and discovering that the strongest connections are often strengthened by honesty, patience, and mutual respect. Those qualities endure long after dramatic moments have faded. Comment 333 as a reminder to welcome peace, wisdom, and steady growth into your life. There were still moments of reflection, but they no longer carried the same weight as before. Instead of dwelling on what could not be changed, both hearts found comfort in the simple truth that every new day offered another chance to act with kindness and sincerity. Even small choices began shaping a brighter future. The world around them remained much the same, yet everything felt different because their perspective had changed. Where fear once whispered reasons to remain guarded, hope quietly encouraged openness. Where uncertainty once seemed overwhelming, patience revealed unexpected strength. Every meaningful connection teaches lessons that extend far beyond a single relationship. They remind us that compassion is never wasted, that honesty brings freedom, and that genuine love is expressed through consistent actions rather than perfect words. These quiet truths continue guiding the heart long after emotional storms have passed. As the evening sky settled into peaceful stillness, there was no need for dramatic promises or impossible expectations. The greatest gift was simply the willingness to move forward with authenticity,